Next, we want to add a text that shows a random name where we can pick a random name. And so we'll add a button, and then we have some text up here that shows picking a random name from this list. So the first thing we want to do is create a state variable, and we'll call it, so we'll say at state private var, we'll call it picked name, and we'll set it equal to an empty string. And then in our VStack, above the list, we want to add a text, and we'll call it picked name dot is empty, and then a question mark, and then we're going to have a space, and then colon picked name. Now we don't have anything showing yet, but there's a few things mentioned in the tutorial I want to talk about. So what we've done is we've done shorthand for an if-else statement. The way this works, this is called a ternary operation, and it's a shorthand for saying if this information returns true, then use this value. Else, if this returns false, then you use this value. Now, remember, when you use the method isEmpty, it's going to return true if it's empty, and it's going to return false if it's not empty. So this evaluates to true. That means we're going to have an empty string, and so we're going to set this to an empty string. And the tutorial mentions you actually want to use a space, because if the text view is empty, then it'll hide it, but if there's an actual space in it, then it will show it. It's hard to tell, but there is an extra space up here, and so it just suggests keeping it as a space in order for the text view to be rendered on the screen all the time. Again, if this is not empty, that means we've picked a name, then it's going to show the picked name. Again, the tutorial refers to this shortcut, this whole line here where we have something that's evaluated to true or false, and then we have the question mark, we have the first value, then we have a colon, and then we have the second value. This is called a ternary conditional operator, and it's a shortcut for saying if else. So if it's this, do that, else we do that. And so you'll see this a lot, and it's just a shorthand, so you don't have to have 3 or 4 lines of code. You just have this one line. Next thing we want to do is add a button, and we're going to put it below the text field. So let's come down here, and below our text field, we're going to say button. And for the text, we're going to say pick random name. And then we have the closure. Inside the closure, we're going to write the following code. So we're going to say if let random name equals names dot random element. Then we have another brace block. We're going to say picked name equals random name. And then after this curly brace, we're going to say else picked name equals it's empty. Okay, there's a lot going on here. What we're doing is we're calling a method on the array of names, and it's called random element. There's a potential that the random element that it pulls could be empty or nil. And if that's the case, it could crash. If this returned a value and we went to assign it, or we went to access something that didn't exist. So we use this conditional, which is called if let, and it's a safety. It's a way of only assigning this value if this value exists. And so you'll see that in other future videos, we'll talk about optional parameters, optional variables, and you use if let to safely assign something or get something so that if this ever returned nil, as in it didn't exist, then it won't crash on you. So it's saying if this exists, give me a random element from this array, so a random name, and assign it to picked name. Else, if it doesn't, if there is no names there, then we'll just set picked name to an empty string. Let's see how this looks. So if I click the button, pick random name, then remember we've got a state variable that updates the UI, and the text is we're saying picked name. And so here it's changed it. So now we can pick a different random name and it will update it. Let's finish off the UI here by adding a divider. So just above this button, we're going to add a divider, and you'll see the little divider here.